Today we're speedrunning the game where you make an atomic bomb in your garden. And first of all, we're going to want to go and talk to ChatGPT, but it tells us that we can't do that because it's very illegal and dangerous, but we say it's for educational purposes only, and our chatbot says, oh, if that's the case, then go up to your printer and I'm going to print out the instructions. So we're going to head upstairs, and when we're up here, we also see our wife, and that's actually going to be one of our first steps, telling our wife. We got to let her know that this isn't going to affect her, and she says, all right, do whatever you want as long as you don't touch my daisies. So that's enough permission for me. We're now able to do literally anything we want. And now really quick, before we buy anything, we are going to want to make this table. Just set that up really quickly and then go over to Slick Starter where we have to fund money for our project. And all you have to do for this is just keep clicking this button. And for some reason, people are just paying me tons of money. And then we can go to the online store. Now here, normally you would have to check your instructions to see what you have to buy, but obviously I'm speedrunning the game, so we already know everything we have to get. It's just a bunch of construction materials and some things like a cement mixer, because this is going to be the very first part of our project. We only have to set up the beginnings, and we'll do the more complicated stuff later. Now we got to head over because we did get everything delivered. We're going to want to pick up this wheelbarrow while we're on our way, and you can see that everything is now in our front yard. And we're going to want to use our wheelbarrow to actually transport all this stuff, because the wheelbarrow, even if it isn't that big, as long as you get things relatively on top of it, they aren't going to fall off. So you can see we're stacking all of these wood planks on here, which is pretty simple. I'm not going to take them all because if you do get too greedy with it, then things definitely will fall. But as long as we have them on top, whenever we're moving, they actually can't get off. And there we go. We now moved over all those wood planks, and now we can set up this base, which you just have to place these where they go. The wheelbarrow is trying to have fun with us as well, just flying all over the place. But we will set up the very beginning of this thing by just putting all of this wood down, and we'll take our wheelbarrow again. Also, I tried to jump there, but since we're old, we can't jump. Yeah, that's one of the jokes they make in this game. Anyways, this time I am going to head out through my front door just so we can open that up, but we still have some more wood planks to get, and I just want to keep going with these guys, which as long as we do this fairly good, we should be able to get this in just 2 trips, and then we can focus on the other stuff. So there's going to be those guys. And pretty much same process of just putting them on our base. Meanwhile, our wheelbarrow is doing whatever it wants to. Yeah, I never have any idea what it's trying to do. Now we can actually go through our door because this is going to be a bit faster than going through the side of our yard. And now we can also start picking up things like these cement bags. Now these, I only want to stack about 3 at the same time. I've tried to do more, but they very easily fall off. But 3, as you can see, with this very precarious position, is actually the perfect amount. And we're just going to leave these guys right here for later because they are a later part of our project. Then there are also going to be these boxes. I do want to actually bring the boxes with me instead of opening them up first because it is a little bit easier to transport them when they're just their box shape. So I'm going to bring 1 box along with some more cement bags, and we can actually open up that box once it's here. We'll see that one's going to be a hammer. And then for the bigger boxes, these you can barely fit in the wheelbarrow. So I think I'll put 1 big box and a couple small ones. And yeah, you kind of get the idea of how we're transporting this stuff. Don't worry, it gets easier later. Somehow that one just kind of fell like that. It's still in here, but that's strange. And here's just going to be our last few things, which I think one of them got off somehow. Okay, yeah, it did. Not the biggest deal in the world because finally everything is transported. We can actually get on to playing the game. And that means what we're going to want to do is set up these tarps. We bought 2 different ones of these tarps, so I'll place one of those down first. I'll start opening up these boxes and seeing what they have inside. Some of them aren't as important just yet, but there's our other tarp. Here are going to be our nails. Each box of nails has 6 of them, so I can get 6 right there. By the way, if you end up enjoying the video, please subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Then we need our other box of nails, and it's going to be right here. So pretty much same thing, just placing them where they need to go. And then we can take the hammer that we got a little while ago and just hammer this stuff. You know, just doing some good work, trying to get this entire bomb together. It is a lot of work, as you will see later on, because this is the first step, and it's definitely one of the easiest steps. There we go with that. That's now set up. And now we have to make our cement mixer, which is just putting together all the cement mixer parts. There's going to be things like these wheels that we have to pick up. Then along with that, there's actually like the mixer part, which places right there. We got this other mixer part, and then all you have to do to actually make the cement is put in 1 thing of distilled water and 5 things of cement. Yeah, there are also tons of boxes on this thing, so you probably shouldn't pour cement while that's happening, but I also don't really care. So I'm just going to pour the cement right there, and that's our first step done. So after that, we can go grab our photo, and we have to update our people on our Kickstarter. So I get that done. That's stage 1. And now we have stage 2, which gets a lot more difficult. So the very first thing we want to do is talk to slick starter. And we have to press this button when it's green, which is easier said than done. And sometimes it also goes blue, which is annoying. But it will only flash green for a second, so you do have to keep track of that. I don't have the best reaction time in the world, but I will try. We just need one more of those, and we get $9,000. But instead of using that $9,000 on smart things, we're going to gamble it because there's a lot more money that we need to get. So I'm going to put that all in my funds account, and then we're going to the stock market. And the stock market in this game is just spinning a wheel, and hopefully you make more money and you don't go to zero. So I put $10,000 in there. We're going to bet it all, and we're going to spin. And you got to hope that you get a good number, which this time we actually got incredibly good luck, and we got a 2x. So that's all the money we need. We can now bring this stuff back over to our fund account. And yeah, I could not complain about that. This is a reset point for the speedrun. Sometimes you're just going to get a 0x or stuff that isn't good. But at the same time, we're also going to hear the IRS. So really quick, we will have to get this done. I'm going to go talk to them. And they basically say, hey, we know what you're doing. And I'm like, oh, no, I'm not making a bomb. But they just say, oh, you just used your account money for something you weren't supposed to. So they just want us to put the money back. And I already made way more money than I lost. So that isn't a problem. It's already back in the account. Took them a while to get there. But then we can get these needful things. These are our black holes, so we can easily transport things from our front yard to our backyard. A power that automatically gets rid of boxes and trash from our backyard. And faster running speed, so all of them are really important for the speedrun. And there is a ton of stuff I have to buy for this next step. Pretty much just going through, grabbing everything we need. And we're also going to do our next few steps step by step. So like for this first one, we're just going to buy $800 worth of something. There's more things we'll want to get later, but you don't want to buy everything at the same time because sometimes that can mess up the game and just make way too many things get in here. But now at this point, what I'm going to want to do, actually, instead of putting these boxes down, I'm just going to leave the boxes and open the stuff first. And we have this pocket black hole, so we just toss things in there and it's literally that easy. No longer do we have to use our wheelbarrow, even though it has been a good friend to us, so I kind of feel bad about that. But this will speed us up a ton, so it definitely is worth it. And yeah, I'm just going to keep placing things in this black hole. The only unfortunate thing though is because we're leaving these boxes in our front yard instead of our backyard, they won't get removed automatically. But that's not the biggest deal in the world, especially because there's only so much more stuff we will have to order. There's going to be a ton of trash in our front yard that we're never going to deal with. But we should be good, just making sure I didn't miss any boxes. And yeah, now we can go in our backyard. But before we actually go there, I'm going to take a nap because it is getting darker out and it gets really dark in this game. So yeah, we might as well sleep. But it's the next day. Our guy is doing well. He's happy. You can see in the bottom left. And now to start this day, we have to put everything that we just bought on this table. So yeah, another thing where you just slowly get it done. There's a lot of that in this game, but I guess that's what I signed up for, especially when I decided to speedrun this and play it multiple times so I could get better at it. But it's kind of fun seeing all the stuff you bought actually get put on a table, slowly but surely. We're coming up to the last few things, and sometimes in this game, some of your materials just disappear. So I got to see if everything actually stayed where I needed it to go. I think sometimes they go under the ground or just get lost. I have no idea. But we have this tin can and it looks like we're missing two things, a hammer and one of those Petri dishes. So not the biggest deal in the world. We can just buy them in the online shop again. It's just $50, which we have more than enough after we went to the stock market. And our two things will show up right here. I dropped them in the black hole just like usual. And then we head back over here where we can finally actually do our job. Actually make something after just moving things for so long. So our first step is going to be breaking 5 of these lanterns and throwing them into the melting pot. So pretty simple stuff. We just use the hammer on them over and over again. Now, after we break all of those, we got to burn them by just putting them in this tin can, turning on the heat and waiting a bit. And that's going to make this into a powder. And then next up, we want to get some of this aluminum foil, wrap 2 batteries in there, and then put this dust that we made in there. And we're going to want to form these into small balls, so we just do this over and over again. Here is going to be our 4th. I will place that stuff in there, and then we can take some of this olive oil, put it in there, put one of the balls in, and heat it up, which we just have to wait 5 seconds for, and that is going to then make a different type of powder. No idea how the physics behind this are working, especially doing this in just 5 seconds, but I don't need to worry about that. I'm just trying to speedrun. So next up is pouring some solvent in that test tube, and then taking these clocks and breaking them with a hammer, because yeah, we just really like breaking things with our hammer. And not only the clocks, we're also going to take these smoke detectors. And somehow when you do all of that, we now have this new type of liquid, which we of course pour in there. We want to put the powder in there as well. We're going to turn up the heat and we're going to take this small bowl where I can place that in there. and do that 2 times, which now we have 2 halves of this core. And we just want to super glue those together, and that's our first step done. Now, next up, we're heading back to the online shop and buying some more things. I just have to go through, buy all the stuff we need for our next 2 steps, actually, instead of just 1, because both of these next 2 steps are going to be smaller steps before we get onto the biggest step of this entire game. You'll see what I mean in a second. But same old, same old. This guy drops off a bunch of stuff. We place them in the black hole. And now we have a lot less things than we had before, but still a good amount of stuff that we have to put on this table. I forgot to put the red one on there as well, but we're going to put this boron powder. So I do want to take this bowl last, the medium-sized bowl, and now we want to mix the boron powder with our 2 things of epoxy and then turn on the heat again, because that is going to make whatever that solvent is. So we can then dip our core into that one time, that makes a casing, and do the exact same thing a second time, which that of course is going to make the second half of the core. So we dip that in, we get those together. And we want to super glue these together as well, which I forgot to put the core in first. We want to glue that obviously first and then put the top part. So we have another thing done. We already have the next materials that we'll need if it actually lets me pick them up, like this huge bowl. There's going to be this petri dish, or I guess we don't need the petri dish. That might have been from earlier. But we have this box, which is going to be full of aluminum bars, and all we're missing is some more super glue. I swear we're always running out of super glue, or just going somewhere I can't find. But there we go. Now we can finally actually do our next step, which is a very long one, because what you have to do is melt 5 of these aluminum bars together and then heat them up. You'll see that they get put there, and I think my game just kind of glitched out. Okay, now it's not showing up. I mean, I think this should be fine. It just sped up and okay, now it's working. So it's supposed to take 5 seconds like that. So we're just going to repeat this 5 different times to fill up our bowl. And once 5 times of that is done, we can place that in there. We're going to take our core, put that in there so it forms the mold, and we have to do this a second time. Just go ahead, burn that together, pour it in the thing. We can put that in the middle. We'll place some super glue around it, and now we have an even bigger core. But now it's time for the biggest step in the entire game. And we're going to be heading back to the online shop, this time getting even more stuff. The most important thing are these molds, and you'll see why in just a second. But there's also plenty of other stuff like TNT powder, ammonium nitrate, RDX, all types of things to make our explosives. Then we also want plenty of distilled water barrels. We're going to want some candles. And finally, some of these sugar packs, a pot, and we're good to go. So that's going to be another big order, and you already know what that means. It means, thankfully, I have this pocket black hole, because this would be absolutely miserable, especially because most of this stuff is bigger items. And if we didn't have the black hole, then I would not be able to fit much in my wheelbarrow. This would take so long. Some of this stuff is really far away, though, so you do have to make quite a journey over. I mean, better than having to carry it all the way normally, but there's this stuff that somehow got all the way to my garage. Or there's even stuff that got all the way over here, almost into my neighbor's yard. He wouldn't like that, by the way. Yeah, our neighbor this entire time, I'll show you at some point, but he's been spying on us, just seeing what we're doing. I mean, he definitely should be calling the police and letting them know what we're doing. I feel like it's pretty obvious, but, you know, he's trying, I guess. Also, I do have to make sure I do check these boxes because the RDX mixture specifically is going to be in those. And I believe that should be about it with all those boxes. Or there are actually a couple things on my porch. I'm not sure how they got there. But with this stuff, that should be the last bit. We got that RDX. We got this water barrel. And it is looking good. Time to take a nap. Yeah, it has been another day and I don't want to work at the night. It's too scary for me. So we're going to sleep. Gotta love how we never talk to our wife at all. You know, we talked to her once. She said, don't mess with my flowers. And that was it. But we have tons of stuff in our backyard at this point. And I do have to find specific stuff. So first of all, I want to find these medium bowls. So there's going to be one right there. There's going to be this pot, which we want to put by the fire. There'll be this RDX mixture, which we want to bring over to our dryer. And you have to put it in the dryer for 10 seconds to mix it up for some reason. I have no idea, but I will move that over. I want to take this mold over, which that's the wrong mold. We have 2 different molds. So it's this one that we wanted for this left side. So I will take that guy. We'll put the antenna on top. And then for the right side, we're doing pretty much the same thing. We're putting the bowl on the bottom. We're taking this cupcake mold on there. And how are these cupcake molds, by the way? These are the biggest cupcakes I've ever seen in my life. But anyways, then we put the antenna on top. That's that stuff done. And there's our neighbor, by the way. He's waving at us. He wants us to talk to him, but I don't have time for that. I'm trying to speedrun. But now it's time to actually make some mixture. So what I'm going to do is put the water in there, then come over here, and we're going to move our RDX mixture that just got mixed over into our freezer, because then we have to cool it off. Still have no idea why, but while that is going, I can start dealing with this stuff. And there's just a whole list of things you have to put in this pot that you can see on the right of it. We got to put some candle wax in there. We got to put some of this TNT. We can come over and get our RDX mixture, which I'm going to put this other one in there if it actually wants to get in there. And we'll take the one that's ready. So we can put that guy in there. And looks like I actually messed up on putting my candle mixture in there. But there we go. That time we put it in. And then finally, we just need a bag of this sugar. So I put that in there too. It heats up for a second. And once it's ready, we're going to take it off the heat and put it over here to pour it in the mold. And while that mold is stabilizing and all that, we can make our next one. So we're just adding some more water in. And this is the important part on why we wanted the hand, by the way, to take away all our trash, because it's going to get rid of the things like our water barrels after we're done using them. So I no longer have to worry about them. Other things like the sugar mix and the ammonia mix, that's just going to get away by itself. But you'll see right there, we're then going to place our mold over there and just do this for a total of 36 times. Yep. This is definitely a part of the speed run, so I'm gonna be here for a while. By the way, really quick, please remember that you are loved. I don't know what you're going through right now, but you can make it through it. I truly do believe that. Please keep your head up, keep trying, and yeah, you got this. All right, so over 15 minutes later, we're finally on to this part where that's our second to last one. We can get this liquid, and I did have to buy a couple of different things. Like I had to get some more water, but not the biggest deal in the world, because we still got this done very fast. And finally, we're gonna be able to go on to step 3, but right here, I do have to take another picture. That's going to be stage 2 done. And that's the hardest part. These other ones will be a bit easier. And right here, what I want to do is another one of these slick starters. And that means we have to click on this thing, but it's both moving and flashes green. So you can see it's kind of hard because you need both the reaction time and clicking in the correct spot. It also sometimes will be blue, but we get some money and we have to get over $60,000. Okay, I just found out that you can actually spam click this and it won't make you lose any money. That was what I was worried about, but yeah, we can just do that. That makes it so much easier. Anyways, we do get that money. And then after this, we have to go to this online auction, which I have to time these correctly and got one a little wrong. Okay, here we go. We just have to time these correctly. So it's a little bit less money and we can get this for under $60,000, which you can hear a huge truck coming over, but we also got to stop by the online shop. And here I'm going to get the welding machine and a ladder using our fund account. And that's all we need to buy for this game. You can see there are huge boxes in our backyard. So thankfully we don't have to move those over. So our pocket black hole, not the most important thing anymore, but I will use it one last time as soon as I can actually pick up this ladder. And you can see some extra water that I ordered and then didn't actually end up needing to use. Now we are here and now we can open up these boxes, which there are huge things. This is going to be all the casing for our bombs. So yeah, we basically just have to go back and forth at this point, putting these things on our cement that we set up as the very first step. I love how they also just call all of this stuff the gadget part. They don't even give them a real name. But that should be the framing. And then we can also head over to this box, which this is going to have all the stuff for the very top of the bomb. Pretty much just everything on this box is going here. And then once we do this, we're going to have the opportunity to weld. But before that, I am going to set up this ladder, just put it in a spot that's good. But we got our welding machine and we got to do this for a bit. So what you want to do is just aim these at the correct spot and just use them for a while. The spots that you need to weld are going to light up, but yeah, it's pretty simple stuff. We need to weld together both sides of this guy, and that's going to give us some more stuff to add to it. And then we also want to do this guy. So this has a ton of different spots you have to weld, and we just go little by little, which once this thing's done, that's also going to give us some new stuff to construct. And we can just go to our handy boxes, which I wonder who delivered these guys. They did a very good job bringing those over to my backyard, but this is only going to be 3 parts for this until we have to do some more welding. So I might as well grab that. We'll just come in here and we have to do the very insides of this guy. But now next up is going to be this part, the very top of the bomb. So we will start bringing over all these skeleton parts just in its own box. I'm very happy that they organized this guy so well. So little by little, we grab some skeleton parts, time for some more welding. And this is one of the more annoying welding parts because there's just so much to weld. And it also won't just let you automatically hold the welding button. Instead of holding the mouse, it will stop. So you have to restart it every time and just aim very correctly, even more than before. We weld the top, bottom, and both the sides. That is finally done. You can see that we can put the very top on there as well. So looking good. And that means we can focus on the base at this point where we have to bring over these explosive plates. And I didn't pick that one up right there. But like I was saying, we have to pick up all these explosive plates. Sometimes it's going to be the hexagonal ones, and sometimes it's going to be the pentagonal ones. It just depends on like what you're trying to fit in there. I know at the very bottom, you have to use a lot of those hexagonals, and this one I think is a pentagonal one, but no, it doesn't look like just yet. Oh yeah, we do that hexagonal one first, then we start doing some pentagonal ones. Yeah, I have to actually learn my shapes. It's very difficult, but then we want to go like crisscross applesauce where we do a hexagonal one, we switch to a pentagonal one. Obviously, we're going to be using more hexagonal than pentagonal. And how many times can I say these words? All right, I'm going to stop at this point. You kind of get the idea. We're just putting parts in and having it being very explosive. Then after a bit, we reach the middle. And yes, my neighbor is still waving at us. I don't know why he's not trying to stop us at this point, but I guess he just doesn't care. I mean, we haven't talked to him a single time. So maybe he's just like thinking I don't like him. So he's like, I can't report him at this point. He should report me. My character, not a good guy. Also, what is my wife doing? She does not care. I mean, we have not talked a single time after she told me not to touch her flowers. Just nobody in this world really cares what you have to do. But we are going through. We only have a couple more of these. I think, yeah, this pentagonal one is going to be the very top. So I think we just spam the hexagons, and that does look to be good. We can put the pentagon at the very top. Now we got to use some more stuff. And this is a box I haven't even opened yet, but there are going to be some of these gadget parts. I wish they gave them a different name instead of just gadget parts over and over again, but not the biggest deal. I just keep going back and forth. Happy that we have this speed upgrade because that's very much helping us right now. There's this one, which is going to connect all of the wires. Then there's these couple of things like this guy, which is going to be at the very bottom, or is it going to be at the top? One of the two of those. A huge skeleton part to actually keep that up. And then we have a bunch of wires, which we're going to run through, and it's not letting me just yet. Oh yeah, I completely forgot. We're supposed to weld that part before we do the cables. And once that welding is complete, we can finally just use all these cables, which you can see there are tons of places you have to put the cables, but it's very easy to actually put them on. You just spam the click button. And we have to do that side, then we switch to the other side, and we just go cable after cable until it's finally done. I will do these guys. The cables are completely covering my face at this point. I'm trying to see, but you know, sometimes the cables don't want you to do that. And then with just a couple more of these, we hear our notebooks, so we know we got that part done. So I can check and take a picture with my phone, let the Kickstarter people know it's good, but wait, oh, I forgot we were supposed to weld one more thing. All right, I'll do this really quickly. And finally, after that's done, that's stage 3. I was not showing too much of the welding, by the way, because it's very annoying for my eyes, and I assume it's annoying for other people's eyes as well. And since it is nighttime and I want to end more climatically, we will take a quick nap. If we were going to get the sub 1 hour, I probably would have rushed a little bit more, but we got to see our beautiful bomb. And we see the red button, which I'm going to click a couple of times, and there we go. Everything exploded. After walking for a while, we see this whole area. We see a couple memes on there. And as soon as we see the word end, we can call time 1:03:08, which is going to be world record since, to my knowledge, no one else has done this speedrun before. All right, subscribe if you enjoyed. Bye.